Thanks, Jamie.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day, whatever time of the week it is for you. This is episode, I don't know, of the Let's Talk Game podcast. Someone want to correct me?
78, I think.
We're pushing 80. I mean, we've been gone for a while. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks since we actually sat down. So, good to be here. Good to see you guys and talk about, video games and shoot the shit a little bit. First of all, how are we both? Man in the middle, Uncle Chunt, digging your little beard beads. How's life?
Yes, I've turned into a Viking since we've been away. Yes, a gaming Viking. Yes, I've been doing some soul searching the last few months and finding myself in a midlife crisis and whatnot. But no, otherwise it's been pretty all over the shop. Night shift is a bitch, and I'm seeing daylight again, and it's awesome. Like I mentioned before. The sun, yeah. I'll never take it for granted ever again.
Don't. It's that good old vitamin D. And you got some new toys on the way? Going to be kicking up your chunk ass stuff and doing your drawing and all that kind of shiz?
Oh yes, got this phallic object in the mail today. Yes, demonetized.
Right size.
Yes.
Yeah. Some shiny equipment on the way as well to go with it.
Got this guy here. Yes, this precious little thing. Look at this. Look how bright this is when you turn it on. If you can see it, it's real bright in person, because the translucent plastic is all through, so it's like this big glow. It's not coming through the camera very well, but it's a sexy looking piece of controller, man. And these feel like actual steering wheel. They're rubber,
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Big fan of the rubber.
Such a pretty one.
It's like a unicorn vomited on an Xbox controller.
Totally is.
A unicorn vomit on my dick. That'd be great. I'll still play it.
I absolutely see that, but the unicorn vomit vibe. And Dan, how are you? How's things? How's life in your new house? Are you all settled in?
Yeah, house is pretty sweet. It was weird going from my from playing on my TV to my brother's, because his TV died and he's now playing on like an old Philips TV.
Oh no,
old school. And I'm like, this really hurts me. Like going from my 77-inch OLED to playing on this, it really hurts me. But house is good. Elitist. Yeah, absolutely. And I paid to be elitist. I'm happy to be elitist as long as I can. But that wedding just under 4 weeks, so just planning for that.
More big life events. It's been a big year for you. Wedding, house, all the shit.
Yeah, then I'm done. That's it.
You can just rot into existence for the next 60 years of your life.
Exactly. That's the plan.
Fair dues. Well, I've been here, there, and everywhere. Obviously, we've had some trouble all getting together, namely because of Chunt's body clock and night shifts. He's been on my time zone, but then I've been away with work and stuff. So fun times all around, which means we've missed an awful lot in terms of game stuff. We all kind of noticed that we'd kind of flagged and we're like, we've not really caught up for a few weeks. Lots happened, so we'll start where we usually do though. What have we been playing? And Dan, rather than Chunt starting, you can start.
Cool. So it's a lot of the similar names that you've heard before. It's a little bit of reruns, a little bit of Red Dead, bit more 2K golf. What I will point out though is I had my 2B brother-in-law popped around, and he loves watching me play Returnal. Like he's a big fan of like Alien and stuff like that, so he just loves the whole nature of that. So I played it a little bit, showed him off the fourth world, which is a jungle-ish area. Then you get to the fifth world, which is ice. And I'm like, and this is where I die. I just constantly die. So I went over to my brother's place to play Madden for a bit, and he was running late, and I'm like, well, I've got my PlayStation here because his internet's shocking, so I didn't know if we'd be able to download a cloud save from my PlayStation to his. So I brought my PlayStation, And I'm like, what can I play? I'm like, oh, I'll play Returnal. I always die like pretty quickly. So if he ever comes here, I'll just die and whatever. So I'm playing, and after about an hour, I get through the jungle, I get through the ice world, and suddenly I'm in the freaking water world. And I'm like, holy shit, I've never got anywhere close to this. And I just keep going and going. And I'm like, I can't stop now. The problem is my PlayStation wasn't connected to the internet the entire time. So I'm so worried that I'm just going to lose my save if something happens. He came there. I said, I'm only like, I'm going to die very soon. I'm sure of it. Like, I'm going to die. Don't worry about it. But can you hook up my PlayStation to your Wi-Fi just in case? So he did, and I felt a lot safer. But I got, I reckon, probably halfway through that water world before I died. So suddenly I'm back on Returnal, which is just, so much fun. Very addicting, that game. But that's probably the highlight over the last 3 weeks since we did this.
Fair dues, Chunt. What about you?
Quite a bit, actually. Sarah and I got back into Monster Hunter in a pretty substantial way. I don't know if you're familiar with the Barrioth, Jamie, but oh my god, that thing that nearly broke me out of the game. I was like, are you kidding me? This thing is just kicking my ass, 3 ways from Sunday constantly. But we finally got it, and we killed it enough I got a full set of armor over that guy for me and my cat. And then we tried progressing further, and we were just like, we love the game, but we were starting to get a bit frustrated with it. So we moved on to other things, and I finished Jedi Fallen Order. I finally got to that and finished it, and that was such a freaking amazing game. I wish I'd played it ages ago. I think it's one of those action games that I needed as a good palate cleanser from all the other kind of stuff that I've been playing. Still, I think it's one of the best Star Wars stories that's come out since Disney took over. Like, Force Awakens might be one thing, but the rest of it I don't like. But this is, if the new Star Wars was like this, these characters and like this story, I think it would be pretty damn awesome. But otherwise, it is what it is. I'm down for a sequel. I haven't really seen much about it. If there's a sequel coming, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
I'll jump right into that. There is. Oh my god, hell yes. So yeah, that was amazing. It runs and looks sweet as hell on Series X on 60 frames a second, whatever. It's real smooth. Looks beautiful. I tried playing some more Skyrim, and then I realized the update was coming out, the anniversary or whatever edition that's just released. Then I stopped playing it because I was like, well, bugger it, I'll just wait for that to come out. And I just never went back to it. Funnily enough, we started playing Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis because it's free. But Sarah wanted to play it just to give it a go. And I've had a whole bunch of perks that I've been claiming for that game from Game Pass Ultimate for the last couple of years. So I started the game with a whole bunch of shit, which was pretty funny. But man, like, it looks graphically, sometimes it looks really nice, but then the character models just look jank as hell. And the faces look very odd and very strange. But otherwise, it's quite a fun game. The jank, I can't get around in some areas as far as like some of the enemies and how your character controls and just how Japanese game it is. Like, it's such a Japanese game, and it feels like a Japanese game. And just the story and the melodrama and stuff. I'm like, oh god, it's the same kind of like anime edgelord kind of crap. And like all the blokes are fully clothed, or fully armored, and then you've got all these like waifus that are barely clothed, but they're like got super armor and stuff, but they got like midriffs and like bras and shit. Freaking hilarious. But we're going to go back to that because Sarah's enjoying it, and I enjoy playing it with her. But otherwise, the main event for us since this game came out was Forza Horizon 5. Hence the reason why I bought that controller. And man, I'm in love with that game. I've been playing it non-stop, and it's amazing. I'm having so much fun with it. And even Sarah is like she's not a racing car gamer at all. She couldn't be bothered, but this one has caught her, not only because it's her home country, Mexico, but she's enjoying how fun it is and how accessible it is. And like she's like, it's very pretty, and I'm having a good time with it and everything like that. But yeah, otherwise that's all we've been doing. We've just been like co-op racing throughout the countryside of Mexico, and yeah, I highly recommend that game. If you haven't played any Forza game before, or you're not a racing car gamer at all, give it a go. It's very much worth a try on Game Pass, and I'll probably play a bit more before I go to bed, I think, because I'm a few 100,000 credits away from buying the most expensive like home base on the map. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get that done before I go to bed. But yes, that's what I've been playing basically. Yes, last few weeks.
Lots of video games for you.
Yes.
I did play some of it, incidentally. So I'm one of those people, like you said, that's not really a racing car kind of human. It's not a car human, full stop, to be perfectly honest with you. I prefer like skateboards and shit, you know. Get my Avril Lavigne on.
You're cool.
Yeah, hipster AF. So yeah, I jumped in a little bit. It is fun. I mean, I did actually play some of 4. I think it was when I was testing, you know, the Game Pass beta when it first came out, like last year. I was like, I'll jump and see if this works, and it was pretty good then. I was like, oh, this is actually quite fun. The Horizon games seem way more fun than the mainline, you know, because it's more arcade than it is simulation. So yeah, really enjoyed what I'd played of it. I've only done sort of 3 or 4 races. They've got the whole ghost avatar things, and yeah, I smashed yours a few times, so I was quite happy about that, because I was like, hey, Chump plays this way more than me, and I'm destroying his ghost. Sounds like
it's not me, it doesn't count.
Yeah, sounds like we're talking about Destiny, doesn't it? I destroyed your ghost. That's just a throwaway on it. I did play a little bit of that. I played Lost Ark. So the closed beta for that came out, being published by Amazon. You know, they've obviously had New World, and then they've had this kind of come out, and it's like, oh, are they cannibalizing their own market? I don't think they are. It's very Diablo-like. It's very good. I don't want to go too deep into it, because it's one of those things that's like, you know, when the mainline thing comes out, it's like you're gonna have to reprogress and do all that. I don't want to experience that. I want to see how it ran, how it plays. Is it fun? Yes. Answer to all of those things. So that's good news. Elsewhere, not like the game, just like, I mean, like elsewhere. I've been playing Kena. I got back to that for a little bit. Got nice. two solid hours into that. Got through the next area, which was good fun. It plays really well, but when you've been in a world that I'm going to talk about in a minute, and then go back to that, you realise kind of the limitations of it being a small studio and a small budget, and very good at what it does, very good at being pretty, but not so good at being, you know, this next level thing, this next generation thing you want to play and talk about. I did play some more New World, not a lot. The fire is kind of burning out on that for me a little bit. Like, it's very much, the consensus is like the first 30 hours of that experience are brilliant, and then you hit kind of a brick wall. I think I mentioned the same thing when remember when I first started Genshin, and it was like I got like 30 hours and it's like, oh, now I've hit a brick wall where I have to do a shit ton of grind and I just don't have the time for it. Yeah, very very similar thing. Unfortunately, I mean, I do want to keep going. The loop is great, but you know, like I said, I've been away, so I kind of had a 2-week period where I didn't even boot it up, and then you try and get back into it, and it's that whole the stuff that I'd rather be doing now. So yeah, I'm not going to go do this. Something terrible, which we're also going to talk about a little bit later, but I played GTA San Andreas, the definitive edition, the not definitive edition, the definitively shit edition, and turned it off after about 40 minutes because it's just jank. Rockstar are going to come in for some serious flack with this. Like, they've burnt a lot of goodwill, I think, in the last year or two. This, in my opinion, what I'm seeing of this is cyberpunk bad. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh shit,
this is it's not cool.
Oh dear.
And then the last thing that I've managed to get into, I got into the network test for Elden Ring, and as somebody who has always loved the aesthetic, the world design, and everything of FromSoft games, they just kick my ass. So whilst I was waiting for the network test, I was like, I've got Dark Souls 3 on Xbox, and it's got FPS boost, so I can play it at 60. I was like, let's give it a go, warm up, get that, dust off the cobwebs for the kind of heavy action combat, and it just rinsed me. Like I must have tried about 4 different classes, got through to like the second area with one of them, and I was just like, this is just taking the piss. Like I have not got time for this. Which is why, as kind of the preview coverage was happening for Elden Ring, the consensus was this is way more accessible. There's a play style for more types of people, and you can kind of get into it a little bit easier, and you can. It's way more accessible. I dare say, Dan, you'll enjoy it. As you said, like it looks like you should enjoy it more than any other FromSoft game. I would agree. I didn't find what I played to be as difficult as Returnal. I found it way more accessible than Returnal, and you're obviously having fun with that. It's got very similar kind of, the dance that you talk about in Ghost of Tsushima. Yep. So it's probably geared to, but then you're not a fan of open world type games. You like your linear stories, so whether that kind of throws you off or not, same for you. But it's
I was just going to say, it's not that it's open world. It's not that it's open world. It's just, I just want to know the reason why I'm doing the things I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe that'll be explained. Like, the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne and that, always tend to have a lot of lore, but they don't actually have a lot of story. So, like, there's
story beats. There are. There's more story beats in this than I've experienced in the others. I get what you mean, because like you start Bloodborne and it's like you just wake up in this place and now go see what's happening. Like it's not. Yeah. There's some preface here. There is with Dark Souls, to be honest. Especially the third one, but there's a reason for what you're doing, not to kind of spoil anything. And by the end of what was available to play, you're kind of figuring out why you have to reform the Elden Ring, essentially, and what it means for that world. So that kind of sets you off on your path. But I do appreciate what you mean. Like they're not steeped in story. They're more about their gameplay than they are anything. But really, really, really enjoyed it. It's a super, super fun experience. It looks really good as well. There was a lot of, their games never look great. This looks really good, and it was hitchless. Like not to jump on the bandwagon, but there is absolutely no. I don't understand how it's going to run on last gen. I don't get it. I can't fathom how it's going to work, because it looks like it's been built for next gen and PC and all the rest of it. So yeah,
what did you play it on? Did you play it on PC?
Series X. I got a code for Series X. So that. I mean, PC would probably be a decent bet, but the frame rate's going to be capped there as well. So at launch, they've said, it's going to be capped at 60, so you may as well just play it on Series X and have better resolution than I would on my PC monitors. So let's do that. Play it from the comfort of the sofa. But it really is one of the most in-depth and polished previews that I've ever seen. I get a lot of vibes from, the Breath of the Wild comparisons have been made. They're there. They're absolutely there. But there's some real, there is some kind of Metal Gear Solid-y type approach, with the way you approach scenarios. And it's like you can kind of choose how you're going to go into this. There's not just kind of one way to beat. I know that's true of most of the FromSoft games, but you can kind of approach things in different ways. Stealth's there if you want to go stealthily. Similar to Ghost, like Ghost of Tsushima, the whole thing, you can go in guns blazing and announce that you're there, or you can take them out as a ghost, so to speak. So there's plenty of influences that are visible, and the sheer fact that they've said this is maybe 1/12 of the map size that we've seen, it leads me to think that there's a chance this becomes like a live service. Like there's just something that's niggling me going, they're intending for this to knock around for a while, because how long have they been making it? It was it's since Dark Souls 3, isn't it? There's been a team working on this, so that's what.
Holy shit!
2016.
70?
It was 16, I think. 3.
Yeah.
So there's been a team working on this for, 6 years, which is a long time. So they probably want to get the legs out of it and see it have a nice long tail while they figure out what on earth they do next. Because I think if they perfect this, which everything that I've seen kind of indicates that they've taken their formula, added some modernization to it and perfected it, like what do you do from there? That's when you find like creators, like Miyazaki might turn around and go, right, I've finished with this now, what's next? As opposed to, how do I continue to iterate on this now? I've kind of hit this ceiling of iteration, if you like. So really, really enjoyed it. I don't pre-order anything anymore. I'm not going to pre-order it, but I definitely will give it the old purchase when it comes out in, is it February? I think January. It was January. It's February now, isn't it? So I've had a thoroughly good time with that. Did only play one of the 3 sessions, so I got about 3 hours in there, but 100% want to play more. I think that's all I've done. I don't think I've jumped into anything else. I tried, as I said, the San Andreas thing, and it just fucked me. So I was just like, nah, that was the last thing I tried to play. And I was like, nope, I am most certainly out.
I have a love-hate relationship with From Software games. Like the last kind of games of theirs I've played was Enchanted Arms on 360 and Armored Core. I want to say Armored Core 5, I think, or Armored Core 4. I can't remember. And I remember Armored Core. I loved it. I played the hell out of that game. It was so much fun. And customizing your own mech and, hunting the pieces of armor that you want, like blueprints and shit, and making your mech the way you want it. And I wish they'd bring that back. Like, I wish they would just take a break from the Bloodborne-esque type of games and do another Armored Core. I'd be all over that. And Enchanted Arms was like, it was an RPG, like a Japanese RPG, but it had a different turn-based system. It was pretty interesting. You had to there's like a Pokemon or Digimon aspect to it. We had to capture golems and or golems, and you're able to use those on your team and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun. But the Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, blah blah blah, all that shit just doesn't interest me. Like, this looks cool. I watched a lot of preview coverage for it myself. It looks batshit insane. It's like, wow, this is like another level above the Dark Souls, Bloodborne stuff, with all the magic elements that they've introduced into it, and like this epic light show while you're just trying not to die in one hit. And the bosses, like the character design, that's one thing with From Software that they've got. Their character design and art style is so unique. You see it even in like Sekiro. Like, that game has its own, like, it looks unique. So I appreciate that aspect from this team or that developer. Like, the games are their own, and you can pick out a From Software game from a mile away. But yeah, I've seen nothing but positive stuff here. Like, there's one content creator that I follow pretty closely. He's Maximilian Dude. He's a Twitch streamer, but he uploads his streams to YouTube and in cuts and stuff, and he's uploaded his findings. I watched one of his sessions one night playing this game, and yeah, like, he loves these games. Bloodborne is like one of his favorite games of all time. And he's right into this as well. So seeing his enjoyment of it kind of got me, like, the whole experience when you watch someone play it, like, oh, this looks cool, like, maybe I'll like it. But no, like, it's just too big, and I like to chill out with my games. Like, I'm playing Forza Horizon 5 on novice, man. I just want to win, I want to chill out and I don't want to be pissed off when I'm gaming. Like, life's already too much of a challenge as it is. I don't need to be challenged when I'm playing games. As sad as that sounds, but holy shit, I'm done. But yeah, I hope you, like, if you get into it, man, I hope you enjoy it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people that enjoy those games from Software.
I think a lot of it for me is, with this one specifically, is the freedom to explore the world. I think we spoke about it maybe the last time we actually. It's like that's why for me Breath of the Wild was so good. You just kind of walk out over that plateau, and there is a moment, you do have that moment in Elden Ring as well, where you kind of just come over this horizon. You know, the same thing happened in New World. It's just, it's a thing in games now. You start these RPGs and it's like, you walk over, see this horizon. It's like, you can go anywhere you want. You can go do whatever. I mean, you know, popularized by even Skyrim that you say in Chun-Li, but going back and playing that again, it's like, when you can do that with a world, that's what I enjoy getting lost in. It's like, this whole world is here for me to explore. The Witcher had it actually as well, like The Witcher 3. It's like, you can go off to some far beat mountain with fuck all on it in The Witcher 3, and there's a dungeon at the bottom that's got some like secret gear in there, and it's like, or a secret sword, and it's like, this is sick. Now that you get that and you've got this buff for the rest of the game, like, it does, you can see the influence in so many places. Like, even look at the roguelikes and stuff. Dan, look at like Returnal. It's like, you keep going into you can go into these rooms if you want, or you don't go into these rooms, but if you do go in, you might get something fucking awesome that makes your run easier. It's the same logic. It's just like, you know, you go and dig through a dungeon, or, you know, a different place. But yeah, like, I really can't wait for it. I've got a feeling it's going to be their biggest game ever, and I think it's going to kickstart 2022 into being probably one of the biggest years in video games ever. But we are 25 minutes in, and I could nitpick around my time with Elden Ring as much as I wanted to, but there's lots of other stuff to talk about. We will stay on a positive track. Dan, talk to us about this Uncharted trailer that I'm pretty sure Chunt and I both don't give too much of a fuck about, but I'll give you my take. It looks dog shit, and now I'll let you have the floor.
I was going to say, going to a positive note, let's talk about the Uncharted trailer. That's not necessarily a guarantee. So my thing I wanted to just talk about it with was, so I just thought it looks fine. Like, it doesn't look bad or good. Like, it's my biggest thing is, like, it's very much Tom Holland being Tom Holland. It's very much Mark Wahlberg being Mark Wahlberg. The only thing I will say is that the actual lines and things that are in it sound Uncharted. It's just coming out of voices and looks that you're not used to seeing in Uncharted. So it's a really weird balance trying to watch it, to be like, well, like when he has the joke in the plane and stuff like that, I'm like, that is absolutely something Nathan Drake would do and say. The thing is, it's just coming out of Tom Holland. The other thing I want to point out, just everybody watching this damn trailer, like, you know, everybody talks about how, well, like, it should have been Nathan Fillion. It should have been Nathan Fillion. And I'm like, I agree with you if it was 20 years ago when Firefly was around and started. But they're making a young Nathan Drake. So you can't have a 50-year-old Nathan Fillion play young Nathan Drake. And then people go, well, why do you have to make him young? Why don't you just make him old? I'm like, well, if you go by that logic, Nathan Fillion's 50. By Uncharted 4, Nathan Drake retires when he's like 40 years old. So that doesn't work either. So just stop it. We've had the games. Let's let them do something different with it. And they're doing a different story to the game. Like, it's a different treasure. They're introducing Sam at a different point, because we learn about Sam in the fourth game rather than like the first initial ones. So I'm okay with what they're doing. I'm not sold on that they're going to achieve it, but that's okay. I wanted to also talk about, because I've just been watching Arcane, the League of Legends animated series that just came to Netflix. And I've never played League of Legends before. And, you know, I'd played Witcher 3, but I really got into watching The Witcher when that came out. What was it, last year? Or was it the year before with Cavill? And I'm just finding myself more attached to these video game properties that are being made that are of series that I have absolutely no attachment to. Like, I'm loving this Arcane animated series. Witcher is awesome. But I'm less enthused than I am like Uncharted and maybe even The Last of Us TV show, which are two of my favorite franchises of all time. So it's really weird. I think we're going to hit this kind of, like kind of like the comic book era when we had X-Men, Spider-Man, and then Fantastic Four, Daredevil. Like there's going to be a real mixture of movies and TV shows that are just, some are not going to work, some might be all right, and then we'll eventually just get better at it. So I'm enthused, but I'm not sold on the Uncharted one yet. But yeah, you guys can bag on it all you want. Yeah.
Yes. Well, the fact that Tom Holland's been quoted in an interview saying he kind of regrets how he played Nathan Drake.
Yeah,
because
stoicness.
He focused too much on looking cool rather than actually playing the character, which is not the quote that you want throwing around the internet while the movie's still yet to come out. You know, that he wished he did it differently, or he's disappointed in his performance. It's like, all right, cool, this is off to a great start. But the problem with these kind of games to movies situations, like you're even more limited. Like you've got a couple of hours to tell a full story that like a generation of people have been growing up with a particular franchise on. So you've got this catch-all experience in 2 hours that covers all the main beats that people loved. Like, you know, this one kind of looks like it's taking all the key points from all 3 games or 4 games or whatever, and just condensing it. Like I had an experience, I watched the Monster Hunter movie a couple of weeks ago, and I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like it's a typical what's his name? W.S. Anderson, whatever his name is, director type movie. You know?
Yeah.
It's a typical one of his films. It is the same shit that he does all the time, but this one I had a lot of fun with, A, because I'm not too tied to Monster Hunter as a franchise. B, like I barely know what's happening in the story of Monster Hunter World as it is. It's just a lot of fun to play. But I knew enough of the game, and when I watched the movie, I'm like, ooh, they did the thing. Ooh, they did the thing. You know? And that was enough for me to go, oh, that was awesome. And the palicos are in it. Like the cats are in the fucking movie. And I was like, yes! That was my favorite part, when the cat comes out and makes some food and they find hair in the food. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's exactly what would happen. Like I was right into it, you know? And the particular big monsters and shit, I'm like, oh, that's that thing. I've killed that. You know? So if they do that for Uncharted fans, when I'm not even a fan of Monster Hunter, really, I think they'll be fine. Like, what are you gonna do? You got like 50 hours of like 1, 2, 3, 4. Just just saying how many hours it might be. I've no idea. And you've got a 2-hour movie to kind of tell this story in. You're gonna have problems. But Tom Holland, I don't think is the great choice. Like, I think he's good at what he does. You know, he's done some serious roles outside of his Marvel movies, but I don't see him as Nathan Drake. I just don't. And that trailer didn't sell me on it. I know enough of Nathan Drake to know like what he's supposed to feel like, and the delivery of the oh crap, like that's Nathan Drake. You know, he says oh crap a lot. You know, when he's flipping off the back of those trucks in the air off the plane, and it sounded like his Peter Parker voice saying oh crap like a little kid. I was like, nah, not sold on that, you know. And just the delivery on his lines, like, nah. Mark Wahlberg, I think, will pass as a, what's his name? Sam? Is that the guy's name? Sully? Same shit. But no. I think he'll be serviceable in that character, because I think he's got the same kind of swagger as that character does. Like, I've seen enough of Sully to know the character. I might not even remember his name, but I know the character enough to be like, yeah, I hear his voice and what the character, you know, how that character is, and I think Mark Wahlberg will be okay in it. But it is what it is, man. I think it'll be better than the Tomb Raider movie. Like, I didn't really think much of that at all, which seems to be a recurring theme with these video game films. But whatever, I'll wait for it to come out on demand or something. I'm not going to go see it at the movies. Screw that shit.
Yeah, done. My thing is, like, I don't disagree about the Tom Holland thing. The problem is, like, I also can't pick another 25-year-old actor right now. Like there's just not enough that they would have put him in that role. So while I don't agree with it, I can't think of anything better. So I got to just deal with what they did.
They could have just done a Cole Young, you know, from Mortal Kombat. Just pick an unknown, you know, some parkour dude who looks good.
Well,
you know,
I wouldn't exactly hold that up as a badge of honor. That guy in that movie, but
yeah, I think he'd probably do a better job.
I've got nothing. I've got nothing to add to this. I think it looks terrible, and I think it's going to be terrible. It does nothing for me. I'd rather play the game. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It's like just nah. So moving on to some more really shitty news, and I touched on it earlier about how terrible Grand Theft Auto has been received, but it seems to have got worse. So, but you know, when we planned this episode out, I sent that earlier in the weekend, and kind of as the weekend's gone on, and as I've played San Andreas myself, have either of you played? Chunt, have you played San Andreas? Dan, what's the one that's included with PlayStation Plus this month? Have you played anything?
GTA. It's GTA 3, but it's on what's it called? PlayStation Now. PS. Yeah. So I haven't even touched it.
Well, don't.
No, I haven't played it on Game Pass.
You've not grabbed it. So, well,
no, I heard all the bad press about it. I was like, why am I going to waste my time with this? You know,
it really is disappointing. So the more that kind of is going on around this is it seems, from what I can gather, and I've not had too much time to dig into all the coverage. I've only had my own kind of personal impression of it. Is people are saying that they've basically up-resed the mobile versions, like, and it's like,
yes, I've seen that.
Why? And yeah, the weird shit that's going on with some of the character models, like they have phoned this in. It's almost like, you know, say early this year or midway through this year, Rockstar turned around and went, we need to make some money before the end of the year, you know, to fund all these ridiculous amounts of games that we're making. Well, Take-Two, not Rockstar, but we need to have a big cash hit before the end of the year. And they've pulled up their least renowned studio and gone, port these 3 games, rebuild them they've rebuilt them in Unreal, haven't they? So rebuild them in Unreal, and just see if you can make it feel all right. And it's like, yeah, do you know what? Largely, it feels okay. It doesn't fucking play okay, and it doesn't look okay, but it does feel better than they did. I mean, I was trying to pedal the fucking bike, and it was like, I'm trying to pedal, and it just isn't doing anything. But it's like it's like so silly bugs like that, and it's like, all right, so and now it's raining, and I literally can't see anything, and I feel like I'm going to be sick, and it's just, I was just like, I can't do this, but I think it's going to wind up being quite disastrous. It's been pulled from PC already, which is saying something.
Oh, wow.
I mean, their whole launcher broke. Like Rockstar's game launcher just completely got nuked. But in a way, like the stuff that people are saying about how broken it is, I don't know how I managed to see it because I definitely don't follow them, but Blessing it Kind of Funny, like, posted, he was streaming one of them, and it's just like he'd just finished like the most difficult mission in the game for the 4th time that day and thought he got past the crash, and then he got through the next door and it just crashed, and he's just like, I'm fucking done. And it's like, people are having these experiences all over the place. Like, CD Projekt Red got absolutely annihilated this time last year for the state that Cyberpunk released in, and this to me seems just as bad. Like, it seems ridiculous. Where do you think they go? Like, what do you think the extent of this is? Because I can see, I don't know if PlayStation would be willing to wreck their relationship with Rockstar that much, but I can see there being some comments coming out, like, from the platform holders going, you know, yeah, we've received a lot of refund requests. I think there was a thread on Reddit where there was 9,000 people sharing screenshots of them requesting refunds, and I know that's a small sample size, but that's ridiculous. Like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, disappointing to hear about all that. Like, when they released the trailer showing what this actually was, I thought it was I came away from that trailer pretty positive. I was like, oh wow, this looks better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I just thought it was going to be legit, just a direct port of the last version of it, and like no updated textures or nothing, no lighting changes. And the trailer was like, yeah, look, that's probably as good as I thought it was going to. I didn't expect them to kind of rebuild it in GTA 5's engine or anything like that. You know, I didn't expect them to be like a complete remake. But this is, yeah, I've been following some of the coverage of it, and I've seen the footage, I've seen the screenshots, and you know, yourself and a couple other mates that bought it and played it through Game Pass, and how disappointed they are in it. And yeah, I mean, a company as big as them, like, this shouldn't happen. Like, they've got more money than they know what to do with. why couldn't they just pump some more into it? I mean, yeah, you're right with the whole the goodwill aspect. I mean, this is going to look bad, and like you saw it on the reaction to the GTA 5 remaster or whatever, the next gen version that's coming out, and how people just bombed the trailer for that. Like, this is bullshit. Like, you're just giving us the same thing, you know, again. What's new here? Like, why are you getting us to, or offering this for us to buy again? There's nothing really new here. But yeah, like San Andreas, I have fond memories of that game. Not too much on GTA 3 besides watching my brother play it, and I haven't even touched Vice City. So, as a whole, the only one that I have any real nostalgia for is San Andreas. So that's disappointing. I mean, out of sheer morbid curiosity, I might download it this week off Game Pass and just give it a go, but I don't want to support it. You know, like if it's like this, I don't want to like download it and count that as something towards supporting it, you know, just out of principle. So yeah, I might just go watch some more footage of someone else playing it just out of principle alone. But yeah, quite disappointed. What's happening? Like, nobody's talking about GTA 4. Like, what's happening with that? Does anyone? Is that coming back out?
Yeah, it's not part of this, is it though?
Is it backwards compatible on Xbox or anything? I have no idea. But it's like the forgotten GTA.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, disappointing. Like, Dan, I know you're the GTA like super fan out of the three of us. Like, how are you taking all this news?
It's a little disappointing. Like, I was going to play it. Like, I didn't pre-order it because it was a thing that I had to wait to see, and glad I did. Like, and you know, looking at the developer that did it, what is it? Grove Street Games. Like they're all they do is port development, but it's mainly for porting games onto Android and iOS. Like, that's what they do. It's not normally the other way around. It's not normally bringing it to consoles. So, and the last time they even brought something to consoles was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on PlayStation 3 and 360. Yeah. So anyway, if I'm going to play these games at the moment, I have the PlayStation 2 versions on my PlayStation because I bought them before they took them off the digital stores. Thank God.
Nice.
But as a business strategy, I'm really surprised they went this route in terms of bringing these first. I really thought they would have, you know, I thought they were going to do the first Red Dead remake or remaster as their first option, because it's not really a massive spoiler, but once you get through Red Dead Redemption 2, you open up the entire first map of Red Dead. So you have the whole of Red Dead 2's map there and the whole of the first Red Dead's map there. And you don't do anything in it. Like, it's just empty. The game finishes and it's just there for you to ride around on if you want to ride around on it. So I'm like, they put in all this effort into recreating the first Red Dead map. And I'm assuming it's there for more like online purposes. But it's just crazy that there's this whole map there that they're not doing anything with. And, you know, the Red Dead, especially the first Red Dead, like, there's not a lot of things in it because the whole point of being in the West is that it's empty and, you know. So I really thought they were going to go the reverse way. I thought that first Red Dead, bring that to us, then Grand Theft Auto 4, because that's kind of the point where we hit, okay, we're using regular shooting mechanics, we're like updating animations and things like that, whereas these three games were all built at a very specific time and we hadn't hit a point of like controllers that are used throughout all games. Like, we're all going to start using triggers now. Like, that's just how we're all going to use triggers to drive and things like that. We hadn't reached that point of the industry saying, all right, this is just how control schemes work. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm hoping they fix it up a little bit, and it mainly seems to be the character models that's the main issue. Like, the cars and stuff look cool, but yeah, I just want to go through the drive-in with Big Smoke and order some food.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, moral of the story: nobody purchase this because it is not worth your money. As Dan said, if you have the original editions, you already have the definitive editions and not the broken, very weird editions. It is a shame because what they've done with the environments do look like really, really cool. They look good. They've definitely been polished up, but the character models, the jankiness, the bugs, just, avoid at all costs. So, I can't remember what the next thing that we had to talk about this week was. I'm consulting the list, and the list indicates to me that the next thing to talk about this week is the fact that we might get Halo Infinite multiplayer today. Like,
oh yeah.
This kind of, I guess it embroils us more in the conversation around what to expect from the 20th anniversary event that's happening I'm saying today for me, tomorrow for you guys, because I think it takes place in about 6 hours here my time, which for you guys is wee hours of the morning. So Chunt, you might wake up tomorrow and have Halo Infinite multiplayer sat there ready to play.
Hell yeah.
What's your thinkings? And to kind of throw a double pointed question there, what's your thinkings around that, and what else do you think we'll see from this 20th anniversary event?
Well, I've already got the multiplayer aspect of the game ready to pre-install because you can do that.
Same.
So hopefully it's ready there for me when I wake up in the morning. But I'll be watching the 20th anniversary special thing that they're doing. I think it's at 7 a.m. I'll have to double check. 7 a.m. my time or Australia time at some point. I can't wait to see it. I love Xbox. Like, duh. I mean, I love Xbox. I'm sitting here wearing a hat and drinking a coffee, like with an Xbox mug, and I'm unabashedly an Xbox fan, and massive nostalgia for this thing, this platform, this box, of memories that I have, and all the way back to 2001 when it first came out with like Halo. That's going to be the story for so many people. And Halo was the first game I ever played besides like Kung Fu Chaos, which is a multiplayer like Smash Brothers type game, back in the day. Shout out to anybody that knows what the fuck Kung Fu Chaos is. I have a copy over there on my shelf. A lot of fun. Anyway, talking about that, like what else do I expect? I'll come back to Halo in a minute, but what I hope and what I expect from this special is like, yeah, cool, a trip down memory lane, some recaps, maybe some interviews on, some of the godfathers of it, like maybe Seamus Blackley will be in there and a couple other people. That'd be great. Just maybe hear some behind the scenes stories of what happened or how it came to be. Like I already know all of it, but I want to I want to sit there and hear the stories again, And I hope they announce some kind of reintroduction of the backwards compatible program and put some more of their old catalog on there. Like hopefully between when they stop the program and when they start it up again, whenever that is, hopefully between those times they've been able to track down some of these developers or some of these studios that have like moved on, and maybe they've tracked down like where these source codes are, or try and like reformat these games through their backwards compatible program and get them back up on the store again, because there are some games on there that deserve revisiting, and that'd be a massive announcement. I mean, it's great to kind of recap on the history of Xbox and where it came from and its origins, because I don't think there's a whole generation of people that wouldn't have any idea, because their first Xbox might have been Xbox One, which is kind of sad to think about in a lot of ways. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Like, they have tempered expectations. Like, a lot of people like Aaron Greenberg and stuff online have been like, we see a lot of rumors around, some cool rumors, wink wink, but this is like a half-hour special, and it's going to be like a history, like a recap of celebration kind of thing. But they've said that in the past, and then they've gone ahead and announced stuff, whether it's in the event or outside, just on social media and blogs. So I do have some expectations I'm trying to temper. But as for Halo multiplayer dropping, I think that'd be just such a no-brainer. That'd be so amazing, just to be like, here, let's celebrate 20 years of Xbox. And why wouldn't you drop out a Halo multiplayer on the day, which is like most people's fondest memories of that console, bar none. Like, personally myself, like going to a mate's place and you're dragging your big massive CRTs around in your mum's car, and setting up like 4 or 5 different CRT TVs in someone's lounge room with a whole bunch of Xboxes, hooked up via LAN, and just like eating pizza and just drinking too much Pepsi Max and just getting high on sugar and staying awake for too long, playing Blood Gulch over and over again, like the good shit, that's the drugs I want. So yeah, I hope they kind of touch on that kind of aspect and social aspect of, the iconic Xbox, I like to say these days. I love it. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, Jamie. Yes. End of story.
I apologise. I had to cough, so I just had to leave you hanging there for a second.
Awkward silence.
Yes. Well, it's better than me blowing out anybody's eardrums with coughing.
Yeah.
Dan, what about you? I know you're not obviously too asked about the whole 20-year celebration thing, but what do you reckon to the stealth drop of Halo? Where do you sit on seeing that happen?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I'd actually be pretty disappointed if they didn't have something with that, considering the occasion. I'm kind of glad that they've, because in the last couple of years, when Xbox have had their events, they've really like blown out big, right? Like they're 1.5, 2 hour like events every time you see them, and I'm kind of happy that they're just doing like a good 30 minutes. Let's just get out some decent announcements, because the big stuff will be next year. But you can celebrate Halo, you can kind of give it a little bit of a spotlight, and also just have little tidbits of things coming. And I think we spoke about it before we started the podcast, but yeah, the idea of bringing in more 360 games and legacy era games. I'm sure there's some from the studios that they've acquired that they still haven't brought to it yet. Maybe not just Bethesda stuff, but ones like, I don't know, Grim Fandango and stuff like that. I'm not sure of the full Game Pass library, but I'm actually curious to see what they'll bring. But it's meant to be a celebration, and it's good that, well, I've said it before, all this year people just keep bringing up like stupid anniversaries, like, it's the 13th year of blah blah blah, or it's the 8th year since this happened. I'm like, it's just nice to have a celebration, whereas 20 is a big deal. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'll definitely keep an eye out.
And I just really, really, really hope that I get to play Halo today. It'd be a great way to end a Monday. Just finish work. The event's at 6 p.m. here. I did check. Finish up work, watch that event, get the kiddos to bed, and then just fucking play Halo multiplayer. That'd be a great way to end a Monday. So I do hope that it does come to fruition. Now, I had another topic around Meta and the whole, Facebook have changed their names and they've introduced this Metaverse, and Microsoft are one of the companies who have said, yep, we're going to build experiences for the Metaverse, and you're starting to see kind of game companies jump on board with this. And I don't know how I feel about it, because long term, all I can see is like us just becoming Ready Player One as a society. And the whole idea behind that story is to kind of ward us off going there. It's like, don't let yourselves get this disconnected. That'd be very silly. The human race kind of depends on human contact. And I was watching some things kind of yesterday, a few things over the weekend, where different commentators and stuff are talking, and I'm talking not game commentators, I mean just generally Joe Rogan, these podcasts that have kind of got guests on discussing from a wider perspective, because for us it's very easy to go, yeah, but VR games are cool. They're good fun, but you can remove yourself from them. If all of your social interactions and all of the events that you're taking place in are happening in this world, like, I'm a bit uneasy with that. I still want to go for dinner with my friends. I still want to go kick a ball around a park. Do you know, these things that don't necessarily have to happen in a digital place. Don't get me wrong, like us doing this, like it'd be wicked to all whack a headset on and be in the same space as one another and have a conversation. That'd be great. But you could then remove yourself from that scenario. I wanted to get kind of deep dive on this, but I am running out of time. I've got like 6 minutes. So just to kind of touch on where you guys are with it, because I'm actually terrified by it. I'm all for VR gaming, but this kind of living in virtual reality I think is dangerous as fuck, and I think the pandemic has accelerated the acceptance of it, because we have all been sat behind screens conversing, not only for pleasure but for work, for everything. We are now all kind of confined to our houses. People are getting scared of social interaction. They're nervous to go outside. It's like it's being pre-built for us to turn into fucking Wall-E. Do you know what I mean? Like, yep. I think it's terrifying, and it will happen because you have to pander to your lowest common denominator. And these fucking idiots that are sat there on Instagram and TikTok for 7 hours a day, getting such a small rush from something so insignificant, are addicted. Amplify that by virtual reality and the sheer kind of being. Do you know what I mean? Like being someone else, living the life you want to be. You could be a fucking shark in virtual reality if you want to. Do you know what I mean? Like, or you know, you could be Big Pimpin'. You do whatever the fuck you want. People are going to not want to live in the real world. We already see, like I'm saying, the mask of, you know, Instagram, and everybody's life looks great, but they're not telling you about like the mental health issues that they're having on the other side of that. The fact that they're fucking miserable and they want to jump off bridges just because, you know, a photo didn't get 7,000 likes today. Like, that's the way that society's kind of gone now. And I just really wanted to kind of press on, like, because it's VR, and let's face it, if video games don't adopt it as a medium, it probably doesn't exist. There's two industries that get new tech first, and that's the porn industry and the games industry. And if it doesn't work, it kind of doesn't fly. So Dan, I'll let you have your say on this first, because I think you've probably thought a little bit philosophically about it as well.
It's all about playing with yourself. So I'm not as doom and gloom. I think with these, I would like to see more of VR, but I think in these scenarios it always has to have a huge push before people pull back on it to kind of where it's meant to be. So I think it is a possibility that we're going to hit this point where everyone starts freaking the fuck out because it's literally just interfering with people's lives rather than just being part of it. And we'll hit this, there'll be discussions, and you'll see it in, like, you know, a casual way where people will be arguing, like, is this good for us, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll kind of get pulled back a little bit, and, you know, it will be in a good place. Because if it doesn't, you know, it's always the pendulum swing. And if you don't do that, it just tends never to take off. Like, it's like, you know, it's the DeLorean never reaching 88 miles an hour. You know, it ends up just being a car driving around the empty car lot. So, I'm not as doom and gloom. I want to see more VR stuff, but it will pull back. Most of these things always tend to pull back.
Chun, what about you?
Well, I can kind of sit on the fence on both sides of this argument, because I can see where it's dangerous and concerning, but I can also see the reasons why it wouldn't be too much concern. But it depends on who you are and what your circumstances are. Like, I can only speak personally just because of, like, how COVID's happened, and, like, I've lost contact with people that I thought were mates, but I haven't heard from them in, like, a year. Like, in, like, work colleagues that I thought were mates, I just haven't heard from, like, since we all started working from home. You know, like, I've been working from home since March 2020, and I haven't seen my family since January or February or something of 2021. So outside of that, like, my actual in-person social experiences have, like, vanished. You know, so it's been me and, like, you guys and, like, whoever on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, on the odd chance, you know. So I can see how people could deep dive into something like Metaverse, is like, well, I just want some social interaction. I can be someone else. Because, you know, some people, I'm not projecting here, but, like, some people might be thinking, well, people don't want to, you know, keep in contact with me. Maybe I'll go into this universe and be someone else that someone wants to contact or wants to be with. That's dangerous, and that's a scary way to be. Like, I personally, like, I say it in jest, but I also mean it sometimes. Like, I don't really like hanging out with a lot of people, to be honest. Like, I like a small circle, and I'd rather have a close circle than a big, like, pool of acquaintances, you know. So I'm not in any rush to kind of be going out and, like, having lunches and shit with people, but I'm not gonna lie, it would be nice, you know, sometimes just to have that. So if people are going to, like, replace reality with this metaverse, yeah, that's concerning. I know I won't go there. I'm too old. Like, I know what the world was like before the internet. and I know what human interactions and like what I like are. You know, I didn't grow up in this era of like mobile phones and like internet being everywhere and like VR being prominent. You know, so I do fear for the people that are younger than me who grew up with that and think that's the normal. You know, so yeah, I'm not going to get into it. Like I have no desire to jump into the metaverse or the multiple metaverses that these companies are wanting to build now. And it's all this shit that happens that's been going on like the last few years. It's just like I wouldn't want to raise a child in it. You know, I'm not going to lie. Like my thinking of it is like I'm glad. Like it might be too much information, but I don't think I'm going to have a kid. And the world as it is right now isn't one that I'd want to raise a kid in or introduce a child into. You know, particularly like where it looks like it's going to go. And this is just another one of like fucking how much more detached are we going to get? Like you said, Jamie, like people have been so disconnected already. Like me personally, I've been so disconnected that when I went out to I went out to the shops to pick up my fucking Forza controller. I don't go out, right? I've been working night shift for almost 2 months. I haven't seen daylight for a long time, and I haven't seen a fucking human being that I actually cared about in like over a year in person. So when I went to pick up my controller and a couple other bits and pieces, man, I was freaking the fuck out. Like, not gonna lie, I was sitting there just like, I don't think I suffer from anxiety, but I think I might now because I was just sitting there just like, fuck, everybody's looking at me. Oh my God, like. You know, people are staring and like, I just want to get out of here. Oh, there's so many people in here. Like I've been alone for so long and now I'm in a building with a lot of people and there's noise and shit everywhere. You know, I'm sitting there just like perspiring, just like having a fucking, I want to get the fuck out of here kind of feeling. So I went in and got my controller and just got the fuck out. I picked up a 6-pack of beer, which I never do. I went into a shop and picked up some beer and went home and I drank all 6 of them. You know, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? You know, so I'm not going to like get into this metaverse shit. I don't need that on me as well. So, like, I know me and a lot of other people out there are going to have a lot of problems when we have to start getting introduced again to people, you know? And I do worry about that. I do.
It's a sad state of affairs. And like you said, it's more, like, I think because don't get me wrong, like, I can spend hours in VR. Like, I can, and days disappear. Like, I like it, but I'm self-aware enough to know that I like it and when to kind of put the limiters and the breakers and stuff on. That said, I do obviously have children. I have 2 young little boys who are growing up with a dad who is into tech and into games and into all this shit. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that they're going to have interest in it. But it's so curious. Obviously, like we'll parent them. Like they're not just going to fucking live in the metaverse. Yeah. But what I find the most interesting about the whole thing, and it's something that does kind of, it plays on that kind of, you know, left right side of which, you know, which way do you lean? But all of these people that are creating these things, it's like, who was the, like, for the famous, Steve Jobs is the famous example. His company invented the iPad, but he didn't allow his children to use the iPad or an iPhone, or I think they were allowed iPods, they were allowed music, but he wouldn't give them an iPad. And it's like, right.
Why?
And it's like, so Zuckerberg is going in on this Meta thing, but his kids don't have Facebook accounts. His kids don't use his tech. And it's like, what does that actually scream? What does that say?
Yes.
It speaks volumes. The people that are creating this stuff do not let their children access it. And it's like, an element of that is, yeah, it's fair, it's good parenting. But we notice that, like, fucking, you know, Cody's 2 and he loves his cartoons and his TV, but the way that he engages in it is different to us. He wants to be able to engage and interact. If we put something on the TV for him, he gets stressed out because he can't turn it over. You hand him a phone or a tablet and he's watching, you know, his cartoons on YouTube or Netflix or something. He knows how to navigate it. He can pick what he wants to watch and do what he wants. And it's like this one track focus. And you literally stood there like fucking clicking your fingers like, wake up, like I'm talking to you. And it's just, they're just in it. And it's terrifying. But what else do you do? Like, I want him to have the freedom of choice. It's all about limits, isn't it? Like, it's not like we fucking sit him there giving him an iPad in the morning and talk to him again at 7 o'clock at night. Like, but you can see where people would do that. You know, oh, this is too hard today. Fuck off, take my phone and go away for 7 hours, go sit like in a dark corner on your own and navigate your life through the internet. And the metaverse is kind of just an extension of that. So yeah, we've got fairly philosophical on that whole front, but I'm now 5 minutes late to a meeting, so we do need to wrap up. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you guys. We'll try and obviously keep weekly. Now Chunt's back on normal hours, I think, and this slot usually works for me, so we'll try and keep it there.
Hell yes, indeed.
And we'll talk next week.
Cool. No worries, boys. Take care.
See you later.